I was wrong about 3i Atlas. And if the new data is right, we all were. For months, I believed we were watching just another cosmic wanderer, a frozen traveler from another system, gliding harmlessly past our sun. That's what the numbers told us. That's what every model confirmed. But now, those same numbers are turning against us. Something changed out there. Something no one expected. Because when 3i Atlas reached its closest point to the sun, physics itself began to twist. The data coming back wasn't chaotic or random. It was structured, deliberate, as if responding to something. We thought it would burn up in solar heat, exceeding 5,000 degrees. Instead, it didn't just survive, it adapted. Its core temperature fell, its brightness spiked, and then the signal changed tone. Everything we thought we knew about light, radiation, motion, gone. It was as if 3i Atlas wasn't fighting the sun. It was communicating with it. And that realization hit harder than anything we'd seen before. For the first time in modern astronomy, researchers began to whisper one word: impossible. Every reading was wrong. Every theory collapsed. And when one of the instruments picked up a repeating pulse inside the solar noise, something synchronized perfectly with the object's rotation. Every scientist in that room went silent, because no comet should ever do this. And whatever 3i Atlas is, it's not what we thought. When it first appeared, the discovery seemed ordinary. Atlas survey telescopes in Hawaii detected a faint object moving faster than most comets, about 130,000 miles per hour. At first glance, it looked like another interstellar visitor, much like Oumuamua, a fragment from a dying system, a piece of cosmic debris on a one-way journey through our solar system. Its path was predictable, its orbit unbound, just passing through. Scientists celebrated the find. Data poured in. Papers were drafted before the month even ended, but the early readings didn't fit the story. Comets are messy. They break down, leave trails of gas, dust, and ice. 3i Atlas, however, was silent. No tail, no vapor, no debris cloud. Instead of scattering sunlight, it reflected it precisely. Its surface behaved like polished alloy, not rock or ice. The spectral readings showed chemical patterns that didn't match any known element in standard comet composition. It was clean, too clean, almost engineered. Scientists brushed it off as coincidence. Maybe an odd reflection angle, maybe a frozen carbon core. But the deeper they looked, the less sense it made. Its spin rate changed mid-measurement. Its trajectory deviated slightly against gravitational expectation. Not enough to alarm, but enough to confuse. Then, when they rechecked the raw data logs, they found something else. The data wasn't static. It was shifting. Numbers flickered between frames. The same scan produced different results, seconds apart. At first, they blamed the equipment. A calibration error, cosmic interference, solar radiation noise. But when 3 separate observatories confirmed the same flicker, the theory collapsed. Something inside the signal itself was rewriting the data, and the deeper they dug, the stranger it became. Hidden in the noise, barely detectable, was a repeating sequence. Not random, not natural. A pattern with rhythm and pause. It pulsed in perfect sync with the object's rotation, as if something buried within 3i Atlas was trying to respond to something. And while the world still believed this was a simple interstellar comet, the scientists who'd seen the raw feed stopped using that word altogether. They called it something else, quietly, off record. They called it active. We didn't realize it then, but that was the first sign. Something was changing, not in our data, but in reality itself. And by the time we understood what it meant, the object had already reached perihelion. And that's when everything broke. The first real warning came when every model started to break. Every orbit simulator, every gravitational prediction, all failed. No matter what parameters they entered, the same thing happened. 3i Atlas stopped behaving like an object bound by gravity. The sun should have accelerated it, pulled it into a tight, burning curve. But instead, it resisted. It slowed down, and then it turned, ever so slightly, just a fraction of a degree, against the solar wind. At first, scientists thought it was an error, but the second data sweep confirmed it. The object was moving contrary to the solar pressure that should have been pushing it away. It wasn't drifting anymore. It was correcting. Every physicist on the project went silent. They double-checked sensors, recalibrated instruments, even changed observatories. The results were identical. The object was actively adjusting its path. Then came something stranger. Its temperature readings plummeted, not gradually, instantly, as if it had just switched something off. The sun was pouring 5,000 degrees of radiation into it, and yet it grew colder, colder than deep space itself. Infrared sensors struggled to read it. It was was as if the object was cloaked in a field that absorbed all energy directed toward it. No reflection, no emission, just a silence, a black hole in the spectrum of light. That's when the algorithms began to fail. NASA's trajectory systems crashed repeatedly. The object's velocity data began oscillating, up, down, back, forth, like something was modulating it. But modulation requires control, and comets don't have control. When the backup systems rebooted, the team saw something no one could explain: a repeating pulse of energy, perfectly synchronized to intervals of 37 seconds. Not random, not noise, patterned, consistent, measurable. One of the lead analysts whispered, "It's like it's breathing." The room fell silent. Because if that was true, this wasn't a comet. It was something alive, or something designed to act like it. And what happened next confirmed everyone's worst fear. As 3I Atlas neared the sun's corona, its energy pulse intensified, and the sun answered back. When 3I Atlas reached perihelion, its closest point to the sun, every prediction ended. At that range, nothing survives. Oumuamua, Swan, Borisov, all of them disintegrated or vanished. But 3I Atlas didn't just survive, it adapted. The sun erupted. A massive flare burst directly in its path. Temperatures spiked beyond comprehension. Plasma waves roaring outward faster than light should travel through that medium. Every sensor caught the impact. But when the data stabilized, the object was still there, unaffected. Its surface began to shimmer with pulses, not chaotic flares of gas, but rhythmic, geometric bursts of energy. Not reflections, not heat, a pattern. Every wavelength showed symmetry, as if the object was responding to the sun in real time. The light wasn't being emitted randomly. It was organized, modulated, almost coded. The energy peaks repeated in exact ratio, 3:1 again and again. For physicists, that was the breaking point. That ratio doesn't appear naturally in astrophysics. It's a signature of intention. The object began releasing a low-frequency electromagnetic wave, deep, slow, repeating. It resonated through solar plasma, like a heartbeat traveling through the fabric of the sun itself. And then the sun reacted. For the first time in recorded solar observation, a section of the sun's corona dimmed, not flared, dimmed, in perfect synchronization with 3I Atlas's signal. The sun, our star, responded in rhythm to something alien. That moment, only 7 seconds long, was enough to terrify every scientist watching. Because if the sun can respond, that means the sun can hear. Afterward, something even stranger happened. A sudden blackout. For precisely 7 minutes, data from every major observatory, NASA, ESA, JAXA, went offline, completely. When the feed returned, the object was gone. It had moved, not away, not out, but behind the sun. And that's when the energy spike hit Earth's magnetosphere. A faint, repeating pulse matching the same 37-second rhythm. It wasn't just the sun that heard it. We did too. After the blackout, the world's most advanced observatories tried to make sense of what had happened. 7 minutes of missing data. 7 minutes where every feed, every sensor, every satellite simply went dark. And when the system rebooted, the readings defied everything physics had ever allowed. Atlas was still intact. Its core temperature had stabilized far below the melting point of any known material. Its reflective spectrum, identical to before the solar strike. It hadn't burned. It hadn't fractured. It hadn't even changed color. It was like the sun never touched it. Theories started flooding in. Some claimed it had formed a quantum shield, a plasma barrier using magnetic inversion. Others suggested superconductive layering, converting radiation into energy rather than heat. But none of it fit the observed data. Because to do what 3I Atlas had just done, it would need to understand the sun. And that's what scared everyone the most. The energy readings that followed showed the object absorbing radiation, storing it, and releasing it in controlled intervals. It wasn't reflecting sunlight, it was processing it, as if it was feeding on the star itself. The idea was dismissed publicly, but behind closed doors, some astrophysicists started calling it the converter, a term used not for comets, but for machines. Weeks later, the data got stranger. Particles around the object began slowing down unnaturally. Protons, photons, even high-energy neutrinos showed delayed interactions in its wake. Something was warping the very laws of thermodynamics. And then came the discovery that shook the entire field. The object's energy readings were identical to those predicted in zero-point field resonance, a hypothetical energy state where quantum fluctuations are harvested as power. Something we've only theorized. Something beyond our reach. But something this object was already doing. The implications were terrifying. If 3 3I Atlas wasn't a comet. If it was built, then it wasn't just visiting our sun. It was using it like a power source. And the moment scientists realized that, a new alert went out. Because as 3I Atlas emerged from behind the sun, it wasn't alone. When the object reappeared, something else came with it. A faint distortion in the solar field, invisible to the eye, but measurable through magnetometers. It moved in sync with 3I Atlas, orbiting just a few thousand kilometers behind. At first, they thought it was a fragment, a piece that had broken off during the solar encounter. But the data didn't support that. The secondary object wasn't reflecting light. It wasn't solid at all. It was pure energy, a magnetic echo, like a ghost following its source. And as 3I Atlas moved away from the sun, that echo grew stronger, as if feeding off the same resonance field. For the first time, astronomers witnessed the sun behaving unnaturally. Solar flares aligned to the object's pulse cycle. Radiation bursts followed its rhythm. It was as if our star had become part of its system, like it was linked. Every few minutes, the sun emitted a flare that matched the object's pattern, 3.1.3.1, a sequence that shouldn't exist in natural stellar activity, and then something no one expected. The flare's radiation didn't spread outward. It curved. It curved toward 3I Atlas. That meant one horrifying thing. The sun wasn't attacking it. It was responding to it. For a brief moment, all solar wind around the object went still, frozen mid-motion, like time itself hesitated. And when the flux resumed, the readings from Earth showed an anomaly in our own magnetic field, a faint echo, perfectly synchronized. Whatever was happening near the sun had reached us. The next few hours brought a surge of unexplained interference. Communication satellites glitched. Deep space signals cut off. Even the Schumann resonance, Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat, fluctuated for the first time in decades. Every pattern led back to one source, 3I Atlas. It wasn't just interacting with the sun anymore. It had created a bridge, something connecting our star to space itself. And if that connection holds, then the sun is no longer just a star. It's a transmitter, and whatever it's sending, it's aimed directly at us. When the solar data was cleaned and cross-checked, a pattern emerged, faint, rhythmic, but deliberate. It wasn't random noise. It wasn't static interference. It was a signal, a repeating pulse hidden inside the electromagnetic wave of the sun itself, encoded within the flare sequence triggered by 3I Atlas. Its intervals were too structured, too mathematical to be chance. 3 bursts. Pause. 1 burst. Pause. Then 3 again. 1, 3, 1. No one wanted to admit it, but deep down, every researcher who looked at the data felt the same cold realization. It wasn't a coincidence. It was communication. The signal repeated every 47 minutes, precisely synchronized with the object's rotation. That meant one of two things. Either 3I Atlas was somehow reacting to the sun's internal activity, or it was controlling it. Across the globe, observatories confirmed the same anomaly. Japan, Chile, South Africa, all reporting identical resonance patterns. Every telescope pointed toward the same region. Every receiver caught the same pulse, and then the signal changed. For 3 full minutes, it shifted into an organized cascade, complex, layered, almost like a frequency modulation. When converted into the audio spectrum, it produced something haunting. Not noise, not randomness, but rhythm, something eerily close to a voice. The transmission didn't last long, just 3 minutes, and then silence. But it was enough for one team at ESA to run a digital reconstruction, and what they found froze the entire control room. The modulation frequency wasn't human. It was too precise, too mathematically perfect, but embedded inside was a structure identical to one known constant in physics, the hydrogen line, the same marker astronomers have proposed we'd use to communicate with other civilizations. If 3I Atlas was sending that, then it wasn't just an object, it was a message. At first, the idea was dismissed as paranoia. Artifacts of data compression, they said. Interference from solar storms. But as more readings came in, the truth got harder to ignore. A small group of theoretical physicists gathered secretly, trying to connect the impossible dots. And the hypothesis they reached could end up rewriting everything we know about cosmic evolution. They called it the stellar engine hypothesis. What if 3I Atlas isn't a comet, or even a probe, but a fragment of a larger system? A machine designed to manipulate stellar output, to feed on energy, or worse, to move stars themselves. It sounds insane until you realize the data matches it. The object's behavior near perihelion, the synchronized flares, the energy absorption, the echo field, all of it orbit aligns perfectly with a theoretical construct once proposed by Freeman Dyson and later by physicist Dan Hooper. A mechanism that can literally harness and reposition stars. Except this isn't theory anymore. It's happening. If this stellar engine exists, it could explain why the interstellar object entered our solar system in such a perfect trajectory, angled precisely to pass through maximum solar flux, then slingshot back into interstellar space. But the real horror lies here. It didn't slingshot out. It slowed down. Every model expected 3I Atlas to accelerate after perihelion, pulled by the sun's immense gravity. Instead, it decelerated, like it was holding position, like it had found what it came for. And if that's true, then it's not leaving. It's waiting. Hours after the last solar pulse, every receiver monitoring the 3I Atlas signal went quiet. The data stream flatlined. No electromagnetic activity, no resonance, no light curve. The object appeared dormant. Then, at 02:14 UTC, the quiet broke. A new spike, not from the sun, not from 3I Atlas, but from deep space. The signal came from a point almost directly behind the object's trajectory, 4.7 light hours away. A faint but perfectly timed return pulse, identical frequency, inverted phase. Like a reply. For a moment, the world's most powerful telescopes were aligned in absolute silence. Then, on the display screens, the impossible appeared. A new blip, faint, slow, and moving toward us. Every instrument confirmed it. Something else was coming. Not from inside the solar system, not from a known orbit, but from interstellar space. And this time, it wasn't alone. The echoes multiplied, forming a line, 4, maybe 5 separate readings, each pulsing in perfect sync with the pattern of 3I Atlas. Almost like reinforcements. No one knows what they are. No one knows if they're natural, mechanical, or something in between. But one thing is certain. 3I Atlas wasn't the message. It was the beacon, and whatever just answered heard it.